Like this show and want to make your own? Let me tell you about Anchor. It's free, and they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And now you can even add any song from Spotify directly to your episodes. The possibilities are endless for what you can create, whether it's music analysis, your own radio show, or something the world's never heard before. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And you can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Hi, and welcome to the Vocal Fries Podcast, the podcast about linguistic discrimination.
I'm Carrie Gillen.
And I'm Megan Figueroa.
I want to thank all the people who've been becoming patrons this month.
Yeah.
It's really great. I think it's our biggest month so far. And if you want to help us out as well, that'd be great. Because again, we really want to pay for someone to transcribe our episodes.
Yes, it's the first thing on earth to do, we want list, we want this, and we will to do it.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. I wonder if an episode got shared or something. Well, anyway, the reason you're here, I don't care. I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. And for those who don't know, patreon.com is where you can support us. It's a way of supporting any kind of artist. There's many people on there. And ours is patreon.com/vocalfriespod. Okay, so now let's get to the email. So Adam emails us about Whelp, and he also has a question, which I will get to. In relation to your comment in this latest episode about Whelp being more an online thing, I always heard it and used it for as long as I can remember growing up here in the Cincinnati area. I always saw that final P sound as a way of adding finality, so like yep versus yes, nope versus no. Both have feelings of being definite and final, or an implication that there's no room for debate. Whelp also carries that feeling, in my opinion, of something being already finished or having already happened. It's an interesting theory. I never really thought about it.
I agree with Adam. I do feel like it's kind of like you're, I don't want to say resigning yourself because that makes it sound like a negative connotation, but like it does feel like you're resigning yourself to whatever has happened because it's done.
Mm-hmm. But do you have that feeling for like yep and nope?
No. For some reason, when I do yep and nope, I feel like I'm like, not hedging, but like softening it.
Yeah, that's how I feel too.
But with Whelp, I don't feel like I'm softening.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But I say it IRL and you don't.
I mean, if I do, it's kind of like saying BRB or LOL or something, you know? Like it feels very internet-y.
Or me. How I just said IRL. I don't actually say IRL. Yeah. Huh.
So anyway, that's an interesting theory, and hey, let us know if you have the same thoughts about it, or if there's another interpretation, because this could be one of those things where people vary depending on when they acquired it. Because Whelp for me is a late acquisition.
I wonder if it's Midwest has a sort of theme going on with Whelp.
Right. So that's what he says later. So well, the bus already left. Feels like there's wiggle room for options to change things. Well, the bus already left, but I might have time to catch at the next stop or something like that. Well, the bus already left, to me, carries a sense that there's nothing to be done about it. I agree with that.
Definitely.
Almost what is done sense because of that feeling of finality the P adds. Not sure if that also ties into the OP usage around here and the Midwest in general, although I always felt like that was a shortening modification of oops. Maybe. I don't know.
Huh. Yeah.
Okay, so that's an interesting theory, and I think I kind of agree. He also has a question about McWhorter. Basically, like, how problematic is McWhorter, and if he's problematic, what should he do about it?
And for those who don't know, John McWhorter is What is he, a professor at Columbia?
Sure, I don't remember.
But he's the host of Lexicon Valley.
Yes.
And a frequent, what is it, like The Atlantic?
Yes.
Contributor?
Yeah, he wrote an interesting article in The Atlantic about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now she's being accused of engaging in verbal blackface. She wasn't in front of Congress or in front of, let's say, a mostly white group of people. I think it was more mixed. And she used a slightly different dialect than most people are used to from her. And so people thought, well, mostly conservatives, thought, aha,
gotcha.
She's trying to sound like a black person. She's, putting on verbal blackface.
Yeah, and right. And when you said that she sounded slightly different, that is her sounding slightly different than what we might see on C-SPAN or
right. That's
the
what
interviews
I was
she
saying.
does. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so she sounded different to what most people are used to from her, because they're usually in front of a mainly white audience.
Right, yeah.
And he mentions also that Obama also came in for similar kinds of criticism, that he would sound different when he was talking to mainly black audiences versus mainly white audiences.
Right, and we talked to Dr. Nicole Holiday about this.
Yes, yeah. And the idea is that he wasn't really authentic because he couldn't possibly, because he's so educated, that couldn't possibly be his actual.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And of course, we have to think about how white politicians don't face the same kind of, are they being authentic?
Well, yeah, we rarely hear them use more than one dialect. And when they do, it does sound inauthentic.
They might actually be inauthentic, yeah.
They often try to put on this folksy sounding thing.
That's
and it just
true.
Doesn't work.
Or they try to speak, I'll put quotes around it, Spanish, because it's not a sincere effort or whatever.
Right, it often isn't. So anyway, he's absolutely right that it's not fair. She is code switching. Like, she really is code switching. It's not that she's being unauthentic. She has multiple dialects, multiple rhetorical styles. We all have different rhetorical styles. We all sound different before different audiences. It's just that no one had heard her talk like that before outside of her community. It just felt inauthentic to people who didn't realize who she actually was and what she would actually sound like.
Right. But so that was a helpful message that McWhorter was getting out into the world.
Yes. And there are times when he is really great, like this. And, and by the way, I think it was Tucker Carlson and some Brit, I don't remember who, were talking about this. And Tucker Carlson mocked the idea that code switching even existed. Like, if you don't sound exactly the same in all instances, then you are inauthentic, was basically his argument.
Well, he's an absolute asshole.
Well, he is an asshole. But
he's a ding-dong. Ding-dong? Really? You really think that?
I don't know if he thinks that. It's really hard to tell with him, like, how much is disingenuousness and how much is he just doesn't understand life. So he obviously code switches. We just don't see it, right? Because we only see him on TV on his show. There's no way he talks like that to his family, to his friends. You know what I mean? Like, he clearly has different styles. But he doesn't think it matters, or he doesn't know.
Of course, it doesn't matter, like, in his life. I mean, he's not, again, had to, like, navigate the same waters that minoritized people have to navigate with their voices. So,
but even setting that aside, he still has to navigate different environments. He just is not aware that he's not, or he is, and he recognizes it and is an asshole about it.
Yeah.
But he when he's talking to other rich people, guaranteed he talks differently. And he probably has to be very careful of what he says to certain people.
That's true.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I really can't tell if he's just evil or not smart.
Yeah. I mean, or both.
Well, he's definitely both, but like... in this instance, you know?
Right.
Okay, so that's good. But then, same goddamn week, there's a video of him...
Of McWhorter.
McWhorter. Sorry, yes. McWhorter. On Reason. talking about how America has never been less racist. Now, granted, the United States has been pretty fucking racist the whole time.
Right.
But to say that it's somehow less bad now than it was 5 years ago seems clearly wrong.
Right. Right.
It is absolutely the case that things have been worse than they are now. I mean, slavery, worse. Right?
Yeah.
But to say that it's never been better than now just seems false.
It just manifests in different ways. Yeah, so basically, I guess we have to be responsible consumers of McMortar media.
Yeah. And to recognize that he's somewhat more complicated than some of the other people that are.
Oh, yeah, like Steven Pinker? Just a fucking... Don't listen to him.
Yeah.
He also peddles this whole, it would never been less racist kind of stuff. And it benefits people like Steven Pinker to say stuff like that.
Yes.
But yeah, I guess, like, there are some really problematic linguists out there, and we definitely don't want to promote their shit. And we're very careful about things.
But that's why it's, like, hard to talk about McWhorter, because he's, like, sometimes really great and sometimes really problematic. And so it's like, how do we talk about this guy in comparison to other ones where it's like, well, this guy's clearly problematic.
Yes, it's true. And it's just the platform he has, so he's going to be out there. So I was even thinking about retweeting his thing about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but then I was like, oh, there's other people that are saying this. I don't need to retweet him.
Yeah. So today our episode is about Chatino languages, which are spoken in Mexico. I did not know anything about them. And
me neither.
Wow, so fascinating. And Dr. Hilaria Cruz also talks about concepts of the dead, what you do after you die. I mean, it's really cool.
It's really, really cool. It's very fun to talk to people where I'm just like for an hour or 45 minutes or whatever, like I'm learning something every second that you speak. This is amazing.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case this time. I knew nothing.
Right. Yeah. Yep. And it's so close to us, Mexico. And it's just like,
it's true.
Thinking about this is a little further in Mexico.
Not like the border, but still.
Right. Yeah. Just thinking about all the things that we don't know about land that we're on or that we're so close to. It's so good to be able to talk to people.
Yes.
And to bring their voices to the podcast airwaves.
Yes.
Yes. So, hope you enjoy. Hilaria Cruz is an assistant professor at the University of Louisville and a native speaker of San Juan Quiaije, Eastern Chatino, an endangered Zapotecan language spoken in the mountains of Oaxaca, Mexico. Through her documentation and revitalization work on the Chatino languages since 2003, she's collected and archived more than 100 hours of audio recordings of naturalistic speech in formal and informal settings. She is currently researching the Chatino concepts of the dead in 4 Eastern Chatino communities. Welcome, Hilaria. Thanks so much for coming to talk with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Of course. We were so interested in your work. It sounds fascinating.
Yeah,
thank you.
And your reputation precedes you. I've heard so many good things about you. So I'm so happy to meet you virtually.
Oh, thank you.
How did you decide to work on documenting and revitalizing Chatino languages?
Okay, so that has a long history.
Usually it does.
Yes.
So I was born in this small town in a village called Cieneguilla, belonging to this other town named San Juan Quiaije. Everyone in that community spoke Chatino, and then my father wanted us to acquire formal education. So then he moved the whole family to this other frontier town where everybody spoke Spanish called Juquila. And Juquila I was put in a classroom where I was studying the Spanish language. It was just like I was just thrown in this environment where the teacher and everyone were required to speak Spanish. So then I continued my education. My family then moved to the bigger city, Oaxaca City, for us to continue going to middle school and then high school. And then in 1991, I moved to Washington State, and then I began to learn English, and then I went to the Evergreen State College. And then around this time, late 1990s, I began to ask myself, now I know how to read and write in the Spanish language, and I also do the same for the English language. But why is it that I cannot read and write in the Chatino language? And this is something that I really would like to be able to do. And then so I began to make attempts to write in the Chatino language. Like I will, jot things down. But then I was never successful at this endeavor. And I will have the same conversations with other Chatino speakers, but also speakers of other indigenous languages of Oaxaca as well. We all had a command of our language orally, but we did not know how to read and write in the Chatino language or Mixteco or Triqui or any other languages that we spoke growing up. One day, I was taking a training to become an interpreter with this organization called Frente Indígena Binacional. And the training was being held for indigenous people, and there were like speakers of all of these indigenous languages of Oaxaca, and we all, we were all presented by the trainer with this huge notebook of legal terms, and then so the trainer said, okay, now translate this into your language. But how are you going to do that if you do not know how to read and write in your language? So then I thought, that really bothered me, and I was just thinking, what is going on here? Why is it that we cannot read and write in our languages? I really want to be able to do this. Then at the same time, I began to hear and to read in the newspapers of linguists who were working with native speakers of North American languages to revive their languages. And I was thinking, that would be so interesting. So I thought, well, maybe linguists will be able to help me develop a writing system, an alphabet for the Chatino language and for other indigenous languages as well. So I began to write to linguists, any linguist that I could hear of. So I began to write to them and ask them, hey, would you be so kind to help me write my language? I speak this language called Chatino. But this is how my sister was also very interested in the same thing. So then my sister went back to Oaxaca around this time, and then she at a coffee shop she met this professor of anthropology. His name is Joel Scherzer. He's now an emeritus professor from University of Texas. So she met the professor at a coffee shop in Oaxaca. So they just began to have a conversation, and then Joel asked my sister Emiliana Cruz, what do you do? What are your interests in life? And then my sister told Joel Scherzer, I really would like to learn how to read and write in my native language. And then Joel says, well, me and my colleagues, Tony Woodbury and Nora England at the University of Texas, are creating a program to train speakers of indigenous languages in Latin America to study their languages. And so Joel extended an invitation to Emiliana to come and visit the University of Texas. And then Emiliana joined the anthropology program, and she began to study the Chatino language and grammar with Tony Woodbury, along with a group of people at the University of Texas. And then a year later, I joined the linguistics program. And of course, my goal was to be able to develop an alphabet for the Chatino language, but I learned that there was a whole world to be discovered in that and the study of linguistics. So that is how I began to document the language.
Do you think that your father, who wanted you to have this formal education in Spanish, ever thought that this would be the outcome of all of this?
I don't know that my father imagined this outcome, but when I was young, my father he was not trained in anthropologist, but he was very much in love with the Chatino culture and the Chatino language, and he will also do some recordings with elders, but he did not know. He did not know how to do transcriptions or anything like that. But I remember having a conversation with my father once, and he told me that one of his wishes was for the Chatino language and culture not to be forgotten. That if our culture of our language ever died, that we could at least inscribe in a rock or anywhere that we existed at some point in this world. So I think that maybe he did not envision a Chatino writing, but I think that he hoped for the culture to continue.
Wow, and this is very much in the family. I love this story. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, thank you.
So how many Chatino languages are there? I know that, that's always a difficult concept because there's a very fuzzy boundary between dialect and language, but, just generally.
There are 3 Chatino languages. One of them is Sensontepec Chatino, Tataltepec Chatino, and a group of about 17 varieties that we call Eastern Chatino. And as you guys said at the beginning of this podcast, I'm a speaker of the San Juan Quiaije Eastern Chatino.
And do you have an estimate on how many speakers there are?
We don't really have a very, how would you say, a very good count of how many speakers are. It changes all the time. The language is getting lost really quickly. Like, for example, the census around the 2010 census said that there were about 40,000 Chatino, and the last census that I saw said that there were about 52,000. I really, it's just, I don't know really. Like, I will say between 40 and 50.
Okay, yeah. This is the very common problem of counting speakers in any language.
For sure.
Especially if it's a smaller language. So my background is more Canadian Indigenous languages. So, I know very little about most of the Mexican Indigenous languages. So, is there anything that you can tell us that kind of makes Chatino different or unique? What is it that's special about this language or family?
Oh, yes. There are so many special things about the Chatino languages or indigenous languages that are spoken in Mexico. For example, the Chatino language has a very complex system of tones, even more complex than Chinese.
Oh, wow.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating. And this is one of the problems that we had in creating an alphabet for the Chatino language. And if I were to give you an example of a group of words in Chatino that just to illustrate the beauty and also the complexity of the language, I will give you a set of words that you could segmentally write with KLA. When I say segmentally, I mean consonants and vowels. Like, for example, if I were to say something, those same words that I say, KLA, with a high pitch, like kla, I will be saying wibindum. If I go a notch down, I say kla, that will be water paro. If I go a notch down, I say kla, that's dream. If I go a notch down, I say kla, that's fish. And then if I do a tone, like a descending tone, something that starts at a high register and goes down, it will be kla, he will arrive. And then if I go a notch down, if I say kla, he will sing. And then if I want to say that you will arrive, I will use an ascending tone, something that begins at a low register and goes up. So that will be kla, you will arrive, kla. And then if I wanted to say that you will sing, then I will say kla. So I'm gonna say all of those ones right now together, like in one fell swoop. So it'll be kla, 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 kla. So when we were trying to develop a writing system for the Chatino language, this is something that we had to work. We have to find a pattern for this. And also, this is the reason why I could not develop a good writing system by myself, because I tried, before I said, that I tried to, sit down and I tried to write the language, but I could not do it because the only thing that I knew how to read and write were these Indo-European languages, Spanish and English, but Chatino is different. So this is one of the reasons for why it's very important to support research in minority languages, because this linguistic research can inform the development of an alphabet that is adequate and for reading and writing in a native language, if this is what the speakers want. And in our case, we really wanted to have a writing system. I understand that there are other indigenous languages in North America where people do not wish to write their language, so that's their choice. But but in our community, people love writing, systems, and we wanted to, not writing systems per se. People love writing, so they, people get excited at the thought of being able to read and write in our language. Okay, so you were asking about what is unique for Chatino. So that is one unique thing about Chatino. Now if we go to the grammar of Chatino, Chatino has this really very lovely system of motion and existential and positional verbs that are very closely related to the culture. Like, for example, where are you guys right now?
Tucson.
I'm in Phoenix.
What part of Arizona?
Southern Arizona.
Central.
Okay, well, let's say that I want to use the example of Tucson, Arizona. Okay. Let's say that we're in the state of Arizona and that we're in Tucson, and that Tucson is ceremonial center for us. So we're in this community, and Tucson, Arizona is the center, and all of the other towns are just like little hamlets. I mean, they so we ascribe this sacredness to this place called Tucson, Arizona. So then, in the Chatino language, if I want to say that I'm going to go to Tucson, I will use one verb, and which is different from a verb that I will use if I were going to say that I'm gonna go to Phoenix. So, like for example, if I were to say in Chatino, I'm gonna go to Tucson, I would say Tucson. If I wanted to say that I'm gonna go to Phoenix, then I would say Phoenix. So you change the first consonant there. Is when you go to a sacred place. Is when you go to a place that it doesn't hold any sacredness.
Wow.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then the same thing goes, like, for example, if I'm gonna move to Tucson, because Tucson is our sacred place, so I will say Tucson. So you will say, I'm gonna go move, stay in Tucson, and then if I wanted to say I'm gonna go and move to Phoenix, I will say so versus so you have these verbs that you use when you describe going to a sacred place and going to a versus a non-sacred place. So, and this is something that you really have to know in the culture, right? And the same thing goes with positional verbs. For positional verbs, like, to hang, to sit, and to stand, there is a great richness in positionals for Chatino, but other Zapotecan and other Oromanguean languages as well. Like, for example, we use those verbs for poetry. Like, for example, in English, this will sound a little bit weird, but there is this special oratory that greets people when they come for a special celebration. So this is just to honor all of the guests. So then you will say, so the way that you will greet your guest at a party, let's say that you're very grateful because these guests have made the point to come to your celebration. Let's say that you're getting married, right? So you're giving a toast and you're saying, oh, the ones that took it hanging, the ones that took the invitation hanging, the ones that took the invitation standing, the ones that took it sitting, those are the ones here. So basically, those are the ones that took our invitation. So basically, what happens is that you play with positional verbs to make a beautiful expression. In Chatino, this sounds really beautiful. In English, of course, you guys use other resources, but in Chatino, we use positional verbs for composing poetry.
I mean, I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking of how hard it would be for someone who did not grow up speaking this language to learn this language.
It is very hard because the tones, the complex system of tones, is also used for inflecting verbs.
Yeah.
And my friend Gregory Stamp, who is a great morphologist, and I are right now working on a paper on tone inflection on verbs. Gregory Stamp says that the Chatino verb inflection is much more complex than Sanskrit.
Wow, that's saying something.
Yes.
That's really cool. I'd love to see the paper when it's ready to be read by people.
Definitely, yes.
On the Wikipedia entry for Chatino, there's a sentence basically saying that Chatinos call their language something I'm not going to try to pronounce.
Yes, Chatnya. Chatnya.
Which means difficult word. Is that accurate?
Okay. There are some Chatino languages that are more disyllabic. And there are some Chatino languages that are monosyllabic. So when you were asking me about how many Chatino languages were there, And I said that there were about 17 varieties, different varieties of Eastern Chatino languages. So one of the things that distinguish each one of those varieties is that each one of those languages have their own set of tones.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So like for example, if I was at the market and I hear a group of people speaking, since they speak their own register of tones, I right away know that they are not from my community.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm saying this because in that case, like for example, chatnya. So since each word has their own tone, then the meaning of that, of the second part of cha is word. We know that, but nya for me is with the tone. It isn't a descending tone. If I were just describing just this word nya in isolation, sounds as low. But in speaking with Chatinos of other varieties of Eastern Chatino, they tell me that it sounds to them like spicy. For others, it sounds like Chile. So really, the gist of the story is that we do not know what is the origin of that word.
Yes. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Huh. This is kind of, again, a very broad question, and but like, why is Chatino, and especially your variety of it, important to you?
I love the Chatino language just because I grew up speaking the language. It is part of my culture, and the reason why I began to my journey in the study of the Chatino languages, beginning with the San Juan Quiaije Chatino, was because this is the language that I know. And this is the language that I have the most direct access to. And it is because my family lives there, and it is because it's the most accessible language to me in particular. But I am interested in learning all of the different Chatino languages because each one of them informs the other. Like, for example, one of the characteristics of San Juan Quiaije Chatino is that we are a very monosyllabic language, but there are some Eastern Chatino languages, such as Zacatepec Chatino, that are still disyllabic. They are much more conservative in terms of linguistics. So for us, Zacatepec Chatino really informs our study of San Juan Quiaije Chatino. So just by chance that we are from San Juan Quiaije Chatino, we began to study this language. But I think that all of the Chatino languages are important, and so I don't see that any one of them has more importance than the other.
When you said there's about 40 to 50,000 approximately speakers, it's hard to measure. Do speakers tend to be bilingual at this point with Spanish?
Yeah, most speakers are bilingual at this point. Only I will say elders 60 and up are still monolingual, but since the inception of schools have used Spanish as the language of instruction, so that makes every young person bilingual.
Right. So speaking of young people, does that mean that the transmission from parent to child is still something that's going strong?
For some families, it really depends on the family, because lately I see that many families are choosing not to teach Chatino to their children. They are speaking Spanish or English to their children. Spanish, I would say. There are some Chatinos who lived in the southeast United States because they migrated here seeking for jobs. And so they speak Spanish to their children.
And do you think that's, I mean, I can guess, but do you think that's mostly kind of survival mechanism? Kind of, this is the language that's going to, of the government or of the education system, so we'll speak Spanish?
Yes, definitely. It is just very sad because, like, for example, I remember when I was younger, and I will go back to my community, like the elders will say, "Oh, you're so lucky. You know Spanish. We're really stupid. We only speak one language."
Yeah.
No. I only speak one language. Doesn't make me stupid.
Yeah.
Yes, but this
so
is how, like we have, been made to, to believe.
The last sort of big question we wanted to talk to you about, and it has to do with your research on the concepts of the dead. What concepts have you uncovered in your research, and what makes it interesting or important?
One of the beautiful things that about the concept of the death, and that right now I teach a Native American religions class, and I have seen that it has a lot of similarities to some of the concepts in North American conception of the death as well. Okay. So the Chatino people believe that each person has at least two souls. And when a person dies, their souls exit their body, and they take a 71-mile journey to the world of the dead. And this journey that they take is through the Chatino region. And the Chatino region Chatino people can tell you, this is the mountain where the dead people live. So it is a very close connection that people have with land, with space, and with culture. And then in this town, Zacatepec, they have specialists that guide the dead soul through each one of the steps in that journey. So when the person dies, the family hires this specialist who knows this trail. The specialist recites to the dead person, okay, so you now are gonna begin your journey to the world of the dead. There is one place, and so they have to climb up a mountain called Yacche in Chatino, which is in Spanish you will translate as Cerro Espina, or like a thorny mountain. It is a really one of the highest mountains in the region. So they say, okay, so when you are traveling, when you reach this place and this mountain, and the thorny mountain on the side of the hill, you will come to a place where the earth resembles some steps. So you are gonna, so when you get to this place, you are gonna count 9 steps. Count the steps. If you count 9 steps, that means that you are dead. Because in Chatino culture, number 9 is assigned to the dead. So then they tell the corpse. So once you have counted the 9 steps, if you count 9 steps, that means that you are dead. Okay, so then continue your climb up on the thorny mountain. When you get to the top, then you will see. Check your clothes. If you see 9 cats in your clothes, that is another sign that you are dead. So if you got those 2 signs that you are dead, then what you do is take a look at the west, because Zacatepec is on the west. Turn to the west, take one last look at your community, because now you do not belong to the world of the living anymore. You must continue your journey and do not come back to the world of the living, not even in dreams. Because so there is this ambiguous relationship with the dead. On the one hand, they're believed to be ancestors and protectors of the community, but at the same time, they're also detrimental to the living. So then as they continue on their journey, they tell them, okay, so when you get to this other place, there is this like a huge rock. You will encounter some doves that are gonna be there, hanging on the trail. You need to evade these doves. You have to throw some amaranth seeds to them. So while they're eating, you just kind of scurry away and just continue your journey. So when the person dies in Chatino, the families prepare them for their journey. They in the coffin they put amaranth seeds. They put anything that a person will need for their journey. They put water. They put food, but everything is in a miniature. They put a new set of clothes. They put sandals. They in some of these Chatino communities they also put some live bees and live tadpoles. All of these things and these little things are going to help the dead person to reach their journey to the world of the dead. So then, so that's why they put the amaranth seeds, because the amaranth seeds, the dead soul is going to use the amaranth seeds to evade, to distract the doves that are going to show up on the trail. So then they tell them, okay, so once you have evaded those doves on the trail, you will come to a place. This is my community. You will come to a place in Cieneguilla. And there you are going to find a meadow. And that meadow you are going to have to put on a show. You are going to have to dance. So you dance, and if you are a guy, you're going to have to whistle and maybe play an instrument. And many elders in Chatino communities are, when they don't know how to dance, and they know that they're going to die soon, they ask for dancing lessons because they want to pass this challenge.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And then they're told, well, once you have passed this challenge, then you get to this other town named Ixtapan. There, you have to cross the river. If you don't know how to swim, then take the tadpoles. And the tadpoles are going to help you cross the river. And then as you continue your road, you will encounter other wild beasts. When you encounter this wild beast, take out the bees, because the bees are going to go and stunk the wild beast so that you can reach the world of the dead. So it is a wonderful connection that people have with land and with souls. And it is interesting because in my Native American class, I'm also finding out that Native American people also believe that souls take a journey, but the journey is on the Milky Way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And there is actually some ceramics and iconography in the Alabama mounts where they also have images of a raptor, a dog, bones and skulls, and there is especially one hand with the eye. And apparently, all of these instruments are also buried with the dead and are also used to aid the soul on their journey to the Milky Way. So for North American indigenous people, it is the journey is on the Milky Way, and for Chatino people, it is by land.
Wow.
Right. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Is there some sort of importance for tricking the dogs in this journey?
We don't have a dog in the journey for Chatino souls, but there is a dog for the journey for North American conception of the death. Yes, and I believe that the story is that apparently the souls are going to have to cross a bridge, and that apparently the dog is like the guardian of that bridge or something like that.
So that mountain that the souls travel to, I assume that's considered to be a sacred space by Chatino people?
It is, yes. Also, the place of the dead as well. I mean, the mountain where the Chatino people believe that the dead live also is a sacred place that people journey every year or during high holidays.
Oh, okay.
And you mentioned that this kind of guide tells the corpse not to speak to the living anymore because that causes trouble. Is that like emotional trouble for the living? Is that
Yeah.
what they mean? Okay.
Yeah. That's emotional, physical, and the spirit. The dead spirits can even kill you.
Oh,
Mhm.
I didn't know that. Wow. So this all kind of reminds me of Coco. I mean, it's
That's
very
right.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, actually, I think that the people who did Coco did a good job.
Yeah, I loved Coco so much.
Yeah, I
Yeah, me
loved it
too.
too. I love Coco too. Yes, and I could really, I could relate.
Yeah, I bet. And
Yes.
I went with my dad, who he's Mexican American, but his parents were Mexican. And he remembers the Day of the Dead as always crossing the border into Mexico to go to the graves of his like tias and tios. And so like it was really important for me to see him watching that too, because it does connect for a lot of Mexican people. And I think it was a really beautiful thing to expose more North Americans to.
Yeah.
Definitely. You know, to me, growing up, one of the most important holidays was Day of the Dead. It is, I guess, I imagine like Christmas for American children.
Yeah, well, there's all the family getting together, and there's lots of, treats. There's foods, and everything's so kind of decorative and decorated, and it's beautiful.
Definitely. One of the beautiful things about Chatino culture is that people take care of themselves by offering food and providing food for anyone. I mean, this is the way people survive famines. So generosity is a very important thing. So when you go to someone's house, people without asking you whether you're hungry, they'll just put a plate on a plate of beans or whatever they have to offer. So when you go and visit someone's house and they don't have anything to offer, even if they have like some warm water, they will put the warm water on your face and they will on a cup and put it, like place it next to you. They will say, I'm so sorry that you have come at a time of, where we don't have a lot of food, but come back during the Day of the Dead, and then we will eat meat and we will have a feast.
Oh, wow.
I think we could learn a lot of lessons from that, because I grew up in that way too, where like my friends would come over and my dad would just, I think, feel like almost like offended if they didn't take something, or anyone comes over, like I gotta offer something, gotta give them something. But we have this like very individualistic kind of thing going on in the US anyway, and the collective spirit, or like helping our neighbors, is such a more healthy way to be. Connected to everyone.
Definitely, yes.
Have you found a nice community in Louisville?
Yes.
I know you're new there, and congratulations, because last I heard you were a postdoc, so that's very exciting.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Yes, no, I have found a wonderful community here in Louisville. I've begun this group together with other friends from Argentina. We get together and we do what they call tertulias. So we get together and we discuss current topics. I have a lot of fun with them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
I want one of those. Yeah. I feel like non-linguists, we have a lot of non-linguists that listen, and even just me as a linguist who doesn't work on this kind of stuff, I want to like be able to be more respectful or do more when it comes to helping, whether it's revitalization or helping languages not die. Is there any advice you have for us for how we can just be informed, or what we can do as non-linguists or non-people who are working on this?
I think that one of the great injustices that have happened with indigenous languages with the formation of nation states is that they have not recognized the contribution of indigenous languages, and people, nation states have worked really hard to erase this diversity. And so this has been our experience in Mexico, and this has been the experience in the United States, and this is the experience of my speakers of minority languages in Turkey, in Russia, and in many Western societies. And I think that one of the things that people from Western states can do is to inform themselves and to help change policies. Like, for example, right now in many Chatino communities, or in many indigenous communities in Mexico for that matter, people are still being taught with Spanish as a language of instruction, even if those children or students speak a native language in their homes and in their communities. And one of the things that I would love to be able to see is for schools to be able to use indigenous languages as a language of instruction. And I think that one thing that people in Western societies can do is help change policies towards that.
Yes, I'm absolutely pro being taught in the language of your culture. I think it's extremely important for the child's development in many ways. Is there like one last message you would like to leave our listeners?
I want to say that I just want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast and get in touch with me if you want to learn more about Tono languages of Mexico, or endangered languages for that matter. Just thank you for your support of minority languages in the world.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That was great.
Yeah. So we also leave our listeners with our final message, which is don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole.
Bye.
The Vocal Fries podcast is produced by me, Carrie Gillen, for Halftone Audio. Theme music by Nick Granum. You can find us on Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Vocal Fries Pod. You can email us at vocalfriespod@gmail.com, and our website is vocalfriespod.com.